Before we get into today's show, let me tell you about the latest deal from Mike Lindell, MyPillow. Once again, the big box stores have canceled their orders simply because they don't agree with Mike Lindell's politics. They don't like it because he supports President Trump. Well, he's going to pass that savings on to you. No more middleman. And boy, does he have some great deals on the Giza Dream sheets and the Percal bed sheets. Listen to this. Giza Dream queen size, normally $139.98. Your wholesale price, $69.99 when you use promo code Joey. King size, only $79.99. The Percal queen size, normally $89.98. Your wholesale price, $29.98 when you use promo code Joey. Just call 1-800-893-4059 or go to MyPillow.com. Always use promo code Joey. Free shipping options available. This allotment's not going to last very long. When they're gone, they're gone. MyPillow.com. Promo code Joey. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss and Nutrition Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. Welcome in on this Monday edition of the last Monday of 2025. Actually, we'll be ringing in the new year midweek. President Donald Trump hosted Ukrainian President Zelensky at Mar-a-Lago yesterday in his latest effort to close out a 4-year-long war. We have some of the highlights for you in today's show. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi revealed Sunday that she didn't intend to tear up President Trump's 2020 State of the Union address, the moment that went viral at the time when she, of course, was Speaker of the House. Her confession came during a conversation with ABC's Jonathan Karl. Do you believe her? And Minnesota's back in the headlines. Politicians took to social media Saturday to criticize Minnesota Governor Tim Walz after a viral video raised questions about a Minneapolis daycare center that allegedly received millions of dollars in state funding, yet doesn't appear to even be open for business. And what a great story out of New York. Dominic Critelli, a 104-year-old World War II veteran, took to the ice in a New York Blue Islanders hockey jersey and performed the Star-Spangled Banner with his saxophone. The crowd erupted into USA chants after he was finished. We have some highlights for you with that, too.
I told you we'd be back.
And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
It's Joey Hudson.
I wanted to name it the Joey Hudson bill, but, they don't allow you to put names on bills, but I wanted to call it the Joey Hudson bill because I know that one's been near and dear to you for a number of years.
That's how it's done. Let your voice be heard.
And the truth shall set you free.
Here's Joey Hudson.
Big developments in what could become one of the most consequential diplomatic meetings of this year. While most Americans were still enjoying the holiday slowdown, President Donald Trump welcomed Ukrainian President Zelensky to Mar-a-Lago. You could see the palm trees, the cameras rolling, security was very tight, and for the first time in a long time, we're hearing senior officials openly describe the war in Ukraine as something that may be entering its final negotiating phase. We'll believe it when we see it, right? President Trump stepped out beside Zelensky looking relaxed, told reporters, "I do believe we have the makings of a deal, final stages, and we think this could move rapidly." The president, with Zelensky by his side, said he thinks both sides share responsibility with the ongoing fighting.
The staged against Ukraine shows that President Putin isn't serious about peace. What is your reaction to that?
No, he's very serious. I think, I can say that I believe Ukraine has made some very strong attacks also. And I don't say that negatively. I think you probably have to. I don't say that negatively. But I think, he hasn't told me that, but there have been some explosions in various parts of Russia. And it looks to me like, I don't know, I don't think it came from the Congo. I don't think it came from the United States of America. It possibly came from Ukraine, but I haven't asked that question. Maybe I won't bother asking. They're fighting a war, and we'll see what happens. But I believe it's a war that we have two willing parties, we have two willing countries. They want to see it end. The people of Ukraine want it to end, and the people of Russia want it to end.
So, there's pretty strong words coming from President Trump and from Zelensky, the kind that you would think you wouldn't say unless you really believe you're close. But Trump also gave a warning, one that should get everyone's attention. He said it will either end or it will go on for a long time, and millions more could be killed. That's where this meeting matters, because we are now nearly 4 years into this brutal war. It's reshaped parts of Europe, drain treasuries, cost countless lives, cost a lot of money for the Americans too. We've sent billions of dollars to Ukraine, and I think most of us are ready for this to end. We're tired of our tax dollars going to Ukraine, right? Sky-high defense logistics, a world less stable than it was because of this war. So, yes, the possibility of a negotiated peace matters. Inside the room with President Trump, you had Marco Rubio, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, Special Envoy Steve Witkoff, who we're told he and Jared Kushner were part of the reason Zelensky was in Florida. And it's not I don't think you can say it's a symbolic handshake. It looks more like a real push towards getting this resolved. Here's where things kind of got interesting. Zelensky's position, he posted on X, clearly setting expectations. He wrote, priority number one is ending the war. The priority is peace. We must be strong at the negotiating table, and to be strong, we need support from Europe and the U.S. In other words, he says he wants peace, but he's not walking into the room weak. Ukraine is telling the world, back us so we negotiate from strength, not surrender. Meanwhile, the timing is kind of tense. Just hours before the meeting, Russia launched hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles into Kyiv. Apartment blocks burning, 1 dead, more than 24 injured, and that attack sent Zelensky here with a bit of urgency. Trump revealed during the media jump, media jumped on quickly. He spoke to President Putin by phone just before meeting with Zelensky. He called it good and productive. No transcript has been released, no details offered, not yet anyway. But anytime a U.S. president is talking privately to Moscow and then Kyiv within hours, something is being lined up behind the scenes. You got to believe and you got to hope, right? Maybe even pray a little prayer here. Here's another quote that grabbed headlines. President Trump told Politico, he doesn't have anything until I approve it, meaning Zelensky can negotiate, but President Trump says he will finalize the deal personally. And look, whether you love him or hate him, nobody doubts that Donald Trump wants a signature peace moment on the world stage to add to his accomplishments. A Trump-brokered Ukraine deal would be historic. It would also cement U.S. leadership, not through endless funding, but through negotiation and leverage. Now, let's talk about the roadblock that's blown up every previous peace attempt, because we've kind of been down this road before, right? Where do the final borders land? Who controls what? Does Ukraine get NATO guarantees? Does Russia keep seized land? Does Crimea remain the sticking point? A lot of questions here. That's the heart of it, and it's not going to be easy. But for the first time in a long time, both leaders are sitting with the U.S. president, not through Zoom screens, not through delegations, but potentially in person. And whether this ends in a breakthrough or a breakdown, this is the closest it appears we've been to a potential ceasefire and an agreement. So here's some questions for you, and I'd love to hear from you. You can text me. You can email me, joe@joeyhudson.com. You can leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to MyPillow.com. Michael and Dale still has some great end-of-the-year deals, so go to MyPillow.com. Use promo code Joey. So here's some questions for you. Should the U.S. be aggressively negotiating peace or stay out and let Ukraine handle its own terms? Number two, if Trump strikes a deal, will history view him as the man who ended the war? What should Ukraine not concede under pressure? Crimea? NATO entry? And is peace better now even if it's sort of imperfect? Or is a just peace impossible while Russia occupies land? This conversation we'll have to have. And again, there are probably more questions right now than there are answers. But again, I think Americans, we're ready to get out of this, aren't we? We're ready to stop sending our money to Ukraine. So if President Trump pulls this off, it'll go down as one of the most significant diplomatic achievements in recent history. You agree? Right alongside the Abraham Accords and some of the previous peace agreements with past presidents. If it collapses, we could be staring at years more war, more lives lost, more money spent, and a Europe that remains anxious and unstable. And here's another question for you. If it does collapse, do we need to remain involved? Do we keep sending billions of dollars to Ukraine? At what point does America just say, we're out of here? You're on your own. So right now, it appears negotiations are going to continue behind closed doors. Trump says that when the final peace terms are ready, he plans to bring Putin and Zelensky together all in one room only when he believes a deal is ready to sign, when he feels comfortable that when you put the two men together, they're going to walk out with a successful deal. There'll be no cameras. It'll be a room with just these world leaders in there working out the final details of this deal. You believe it'll happen? Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Everyone says they'll start after the holidays, and that's exactly why most people never tackle those extra pounds at all. Joey Hudson here. Right now, PhD Weight Loss is making it easy to start before the new year with a bonus designed to get you moving now. They're adding 2 free weeks to your program. That means you can ramp up during the holidays and start the new year already working towards your goals. Those 2 free weeks mean you won't roll into January feeling behind. You'll hit January already losing, already feeling better, already in control. PhD's metabolic reset system teaches your body to burn fat first. No drugs, no starvation diets, no endless workouts, just a smarter science-based system that fits real life. And when you mention 2 weeks on the phone, they'll waive your consultation fee and pay for the cost of your food during the entire program. There's no reason to wait, no reason to repeat last year. Call PhD Weight Loss today and start 2026 already ahead. 864-644-1900. Call today. That's 864-644-1900 or go to myphdweightloss.com. Don't wait. Do it today. This was a great weekend for sports. We had some college football. Of course, Clemson fans disappointed that the Tigers did not win their bowl game in New York. The what was it called? The Pinstripe Bowl, I guess. Penn State winning out on that. It was a great weekend for NFL football, too. For those of you Trevor Lawrence fans and Jacksonville Jaguar fans, they pulled it off there at the end and will continue towards their march toward a possible Super Bowl. But, you know, every now and then we get a story that reminds us about what America's all about, what American sports are all about. Service to others, sacrifice, gratitude. And this past weekend, it was Saturday night actually, New York sports fans witnessed something very special. And no, I'm not talking about the Clemson game. This was a hockey game. And before the puck dropped between the New York Islanders and the Rangers at the UBS Arena, the spotlight didn't fall on a pop star or some celebrity singer singing the national anthem. Instead, it was a name that you'd never heard of before. A 104-year-old World War II veteran took center ice with a saxophone in his hand. Did you hear me? 104 years old. His name, Dominic Critelli. He was a staff sergeant, American hero, an immigrant who came to this country as a young boy from Italy, legally, by the way, with his family. He played the Star-Spangled Banner himself. No vocals, just pure heartfelt patriotism through the brass of his saxophone. You could tell this man loves his country. He's proud of his country. He's proud that he came here legally and has built a life in America and served his country as well. Now, let me just let you listen to a quick excerpt.
Ladies and gentlemen, Staff Sergeant Dominic Critelli.
Wow. And if you watch the video of this, and if you haven't seen it, let me encourage you to find it. Just search for it. It was a magical moment. As you heard, the crowd just went crazy. The arena erupted into a chant, USA, USA. This man, he isn't just a veteran. Yes, he saw the darkest chapters of history with his own eyes. Critelli survived Normandy, the Battle of the Bulge. He ran supplies behind enemy lines 151 days in combat. For it, he earned medals most of us will only ever read about. For example, European, African, Middle Eastern Campaign Medal with 3 Bronze Stars, American Theater Medal, a World War II Victory Medal, Good Conduct Medal. This man is what you think about when you think about a veteran in uniform and how he served his country. And when the New York Post asked him about the moment, he said something very simple, very powerful. Here's the words of Dominic Critelli. I love this country. If I hadn't come to this country, I'd be stuck with Mussolini. I love this country, he said. Wow. That's perspective you can only get from someone who lived freedom, fought for freedom, and chose America as his home. Oh, and by the way, the important thing for the New York Islanders, they topped off tonight with a 2-0 shutout win over the Rangers. Goalie David Rittich stopped 27 shots, and the fans went home with both a victory and a memory of this veteran, this 104-year-old World War II veteran, playing their national anthem. There were no knees taken during the national anthem. Everybody in this arena, as the camera panned around the crowd, everybody was on their feet applauding this man and applauding their country. They were patriots. They were proud of their country. You know, we talk about division in the country every day. But for one night, Saturday night, one anthem, we're told there were 17,000 people in this arena. They stood together to support this hero who earned every bit of that applause, who earned every bit of that respect. What a moment. Not only for the 17,000 there, but of course for Dominic. Moments like that remind us that America is still a country worth celebrating, and that Americans are proud of our heritage, proud of our history, proud of people like Dominic Critelli who fought for his country, who has those horrible memories, but his best memory is living in a country that is free. You know, there are moments in politics that kind of stick in your mind. It's like a snapshot. Some become history. Some just become memes. And every now and then, one moment becomes both, or maybe more of a cartoon. One of those moments happened back in February of 2020. You know where I'm headed here? When Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi stood behind then President Donald Trump at the State of the Union, held up her copy of his speech, tore it in half, live on national television. You remember it? Twitter exploded. Opinion shows went wall to wall. You and I talked about it nonstop. The Democrat half of the country called it brave resistance. They were proud of Nancy for standing up to Orange Bad Man. The Republican common sense half of the country thought it was disrespectful as it was, childish, and beneath the office that she held. Forget that it was Nancy Pelosi. She was Speaker of the House. Well, here we are nearly 5 years later, and Ms. Pelosi says, well, she didn't mean to do it.
People like the tearing up of the speech. I didn't intend to go to speech to tear it up, but the first part of it, I tore a page because he was lying, and then the next page, and then the next page. And I thought it was a manifesto of lies all throughout. So I better just tear up the whole speech. Now, the speeches are on strong paper there. So you have to do it a few times to get it done. But I had no intention of doing it. I thought my staff was going to die.
So I guess that's the devil made me do it. Does anybody believe Nancy Pelosi did not intend to tear that speech up? I mean, that's what she told ABC's Jonathan Karl. She claims it wasn't pre-planned, not choreographed, not rehearsed. You heard her. I didn't intend to tear up the speech. I tore a page because he was lying. She said the paper was thick, as you heard, and she claims that her staff nearly fainted watching her do it, as they should. They should have walked out. They should have quit. So let's pause right here, because that moment became a defining symbol of our current political divide. Right or left, you remember watching that night. But Pelosi says it was spur-of-the-moment emotion, that it wasn't a stunt that she had planned, no setup, no optic strategy. And again, that's hard to believe, isn't it? Politicians aren't exactly known for spontaneity at televised events. But it's interesting that she's reframing it now as she heads into retirement. Pelosi's interview also touched viral moments, other viral moments. That photograph of her standing over Trump in the cabinet room in 2019, finger pointed across the table, that famous blue suit. She says she gets more autograph requests for that one picture than anything else in her career. And she said she remembers exactly what she told him that day. She says, "I'm leaving because I've had it with you. All roads lead to Putin." The White House at the time posted that very photo, calling her crazy, thinking it made her look unhinged. Nancy Pelosi now says they actually helped her, that the viral image turned her into an icon of the left. Politics today, it's not just lawmaking. A lot of it has to do with imagery, symbolism. Sometimes your performance, but more often than not, your latest clicks on social media. And Pelosi is now openly saying that these moments weren't planned, they just happened. So here's the question. Was that raw authenticity or political instinct? Because tearing up a speech behind the president isn't nothing. It wasn't subtle. It wasn't hidden. It was a direct message, not just to Trump, but to MAGA Republicans, to you and I, those of us who support the president, who supported him then and continue to support him now. And she's saying it was emotional, a reaction to what she called Trump's lies. Which leads us probably to a bigger discussion. When did our politics become such theater? Pelosi talked about her legacy as she prepares to exit Congress. Jonathan Karl asked her just straight up, how do you want to be remembered? Not for the speech, not for the viral photo, not for the impeachment that she pursued against Donald Trump, not for being the first woman speaker. Pelosi said one thing, the Affordable Care Act. If I remembered for one thing, she said, it's that. She says passing Obamacare changed working family health care permanently. She sees it as transformational. Republicans, of course, remember it very differently. We're seeing skyrocketing premiums. We're seeing plans that are canceled. We're seeing that if you like your doctor, well, you may not still be able to keep them. But she's stating that it's her legacy. And this is where I want to bring listeners in. Again, I want to ask you, do you believe Nancy Pelosi really didn't plan the moment? Was it righteous protest or just her way of political theater? Was tearing this speech up patriotic or petty? Text me. Email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Because, look, emotions aside, this is a moment that America remembers. Not to refight 2020. 2020 is behind us. Not to stir up more resentment. There's plenty of that. But to understand where our politics are now. People don't just vote policy. They vote on moments like that. Images, viral clips, sound bites. Sometimes history turns on page tearing more than page writing. And we all remember just how petty Nancy Pelosi was at that time. Pelosi, whether you cheer her or critique her, knew how to create those moments. And I don't believe for a minute that she did not plan it. She knew before the speech ever began. She knew before the president even walked into the House chamber that she was going to do that. You agree? If you watched it live, it sure looked like it was intentional, didn't it? I don't know. Maybe she's honest. I doubt it. Maybe she's rewriting history as she wants her own legacy to be remembered. Maybe she's embarrassed that she did it, finally. Maybe she's woke up and realized just how petty, how childish, how immature that was. I believe she planned to do it. Her emotions got carried away with her. Maybe she was just going to tear one page, or maybe she was going to toss it to the side. She could not pass up the opportunity, though. She knew the cameras were on her, and she was making a statement, and she got the response that she expected. So here we are. 5 years later, we're still talking about those pieces of paper, that speech. And somehow the symbolism probably matters more now than it did back then. Nancy Pelosi didn't just tear up a speech. She tore up an open conversation about respect between an opposite party president. She tore up a conversation about division among political rivalries and how far we drifted from shared ground, how far we have drifted from working for the betterment of the entire country, not just for people who vote along your party lines. Nancy Pelosi does not care a thing about any other America than the Democrat leftist America that she has become so attuned to. So maybe the lesson is this. When emotions replace debate, we stop talking to each other and we start performing from our perspective, our side. Pelosi says she tore it up because she believed it was full of lies. Anything that Donald Trump says, she thinks is a lie. She's always going to think that. Donald Trump and Nancy Pelosi are never going to be able to be in a room together and be civil. Trump supporters, of course, say it was tearing up the accomplishments of America. Two realities, one moment. Tell me which side you think's right. Which side is right today? Love to get your comments. Text me, email me, joey@joeyhudson.com. Leave me a message on the MyPillow message line, 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Always use promo code Joey when you go to mypillow.com and place those orders. And boy, Mike Lindell still has some great end-of-the-year specials for you. Do not pass them up. For example, the 6-piece towel set. You know how much I love these towels. They're soft. They're absorbent. Only $39.98 right now when you go to mypillow.com and you use promo code Joey. The standard size MyPillows, where it all started, $14.98 when you use promo code Joey. The children's Bible story pillow 5-pack, $29.98. The My Slippers, along with a bottle of leather protected spray for $39.98. Again, when you use promo code Joey. Blankets, comforters, duvets for as low as $25. And again, you can't beat the standard My Pillows for just $14.98. You'll get the best sleep you've ever had in your life. Go to mypillow.com. You can also call 800-893-4059. Always use promo code Joey. Your comments are welcome on the Furman Ford text line, 864-477-JOEY. That's 864-477-5639. Emails always welcome, joey@joeyhudson.com. Speaking of the Furman Ford text line, it's never been more important to support locally run businesses owned by people who actually live here in the upstate. Let me take a minute to talk with you about our friends at Furman Ford. If you're looking for a new vehicle, maybe a great pre-owned vehicle, one you can trust, or maybe you're looking to order that special vehicle. Either way, if you want a new one, a brand new one, or a pre-owned that you can trust, the folks at Furman Ford, they're there to help you. Their name is on the sign because their name is on the line, because every single transaction is important to them. Jim Furman, Matthew Furman. They do business the right way. When you stop by, when you give them a call, or maybe when you just send them a quick email, you're always going to have access to a member of the Furman Ford family. And by the way, they also offer great service, and you're not going to have to wait weeks and weeks to get it done. And you do not have had to purchase your vehicle at Furman Ford. Doesn't even have to be a Ford. They service all makes and models. Visit my friends at Furman Ford online at FurmanFord.com, FurmanFord.com. Minnesota's back in the headlines, not for Vikings football or a nice weekend at one of the beautiful lakes in Minnesota. It's fraud, and it is going viral big time. A video circulating online over the weekend, it's 42 minutes long, posted by independent reporter Nick Shirley, is blowing the lid off what many say is a massive welfare and child care funding scandal tied to the administration of Democrat Governor Tim Walz. And this is not the one we've been talking about for weeks now that involved all the Somalis. This is a totally different situation. Let me tell you, the footage is stunning. So the video shows Mr. Shirley driving to Minneapolis daycare center, supposedly receiving state money, millions of dollars of state money. Yet some of these facilities appear cold, dark, and empty. One in particular claims to be caring for 99 children, received roughly $4 million in taxpayer funds, but the building looks anything but active. There are no kids there, no parents waiting to get their kids. The sign on the door, get this now, even misspelled learning. It's spelled Quality Learning Center, left out the N. Should have been Quality Learning Center. It says Quality Learning Center, and they got $4 million. It really is hard to make this kind of stuff up, folks. You would think if you're receiving millions of dollars of the public's money, someone would have run spell check, right? But hey, when oversight's non-existent, I guess spelling is optional. This isn't happening in a vacuum. Minnesota has already been rocked by what investigators call one of the largest fraud operations in U.S. history. It's tied to federal social services and primarily centered in the Twin Cities Somali community. Reports estimated over $1 billion, $1 billion with a B, stolen through fraudulent nutrition and child care programs. Money that was supposed to feed children and support needy families allegedly instead bought luxury cars, houses, and overseas assets. And according to investigators, some funds even made their way into the hands of terrorist groups, Al-Shabaab. Now, couple that history with this video, people in Minnesota have had enough. People around the country have had enough. Vice President J.D. Vance jumped on X saying this: a microcosm of immigration fraud in our system. Politicians like it because they get power. Welfare cheats like it because they get rich. He said it, zero-sum game. And Minnesotans are losing both money and political power. New York Republican Congressman Mike Lawler said Walz needs to be held accountable, calling for an immediate congressional hearing. Elon Musk weighed in too. And when Elon talks these days, it moves fast. He blamed the radical left for using government programs as a mechanism to import and retain dependable voting blocks, his words, not mine, in order to create a permanent one-party state. Musk said this: the more you look at it, the more you will be horrified at what your tax money is doing. If this is not reversed, your vote will mean absolutely nothing. And look, Elon Musk went even further, saying we need to prosecute Tim Walz. Donald Trump Jr. said this is what journalism should look like, asking why mainstream outlets aren't touching the story. And the video is quite amazing. I watched it over the weekend. Let me encourage you to do so as well. So why is it that citizen journalists, independent reporters like Mr. Shirley, and people armed with just a smartphone are uncovering fraud that the government seems unable or unwilling to stop? How many times have we heard the phrase unfunded oversight or limited resources while taxpayers write billion-dollar checks to programs that has very little transparency? So let me just put it plainly. When billions disappear, something is very badly broken. When daycares with no children get millions in funding, something is broken. When terror organizations end up with U.S. taxpayer money, something is dangerously broken. Look, I don't know if this Somali network has anything to do with this latest, and I'm not accusing every immigrant of wrongdoing. Most are good people seeking an honest, better life. But when fraud becomes entrenched, systemic, and politicians look the other way, which they've been doing in Minnesota, and I have a sneaking suspicion probably in other sections of the country too, that's not just waste of government spending. That is corruption. How many times have we seen massive public fraud cases like this? We've seen the headlines buzz, politicians tweet, fingers pointing, and then nothing changes. Nobody gets fired. Nobody loses funding. Nobody goes to jail. The program continues. And then another scandal pops up just like it. And people wonder why voters are furious. We talk about inflation. We talk about cost of living, taxes rising, and we ask government, why? Why can't we fix this? Why can't, is government that broke? Well, when $1 billion walks out the back door, that's why. That's why Americans and Minnesotans should be fed up with this. It's pretty simple, and it comes down to if taxpayer money can be looted without consequence, the system just isn't working. Government becomes a cash dispenser. Politicians become stewards of redistribution, not accountability. And fraud becomes a business model. I mean, let's just be honest here. The video that sparked this conversation wasn't produced by 60 Minutes or the Washington Post or even Fox News for that matter. It was produced by a guy with a camera and a question. Where's the money going? If there were billions of dollars going out, are there other examples of fraud? And he didn't have to go very far or look very hard to find them. Turns out that was a very dangerous question. and he got a quick answer. I mean, whether you agree with J.D. Vance or not, whether you think Elon Musk is an alarmist or spot on, whether you support Governor Walz, which I don't think many of you do, or think he should resign, the facts still matter. If daycare centers are receiving millions without any children, we need answers. We need to know how that's happening. If billions in welfare funds were stolen, who's responsible and how are we going to hold them accountable? If elected leaders ignored it, if Governor Walz ignored it, if even some of the Republicans have ignored it, if they've covered it up, if they've downplayed it, there needs to be consequences. A great republic can survive disagreement. What we cannot survive is corruption normalized to the point that people just literally stop caring, that they just tune out because they think that there's nothing they can do about it. They think, well, that's just normal for government. That's how our government works. There's always going to be fraud in government. Well, I don't think there has to be fraud in government. I don't think we have to go along with this. I think we can stop it. I think we have to stop it. Time will tell just how deep this goes, but the smoke appears to be real. And where there's smoke, we owe it to the taxpayers to check for the fire that we know is just around the corner. That's it for today's edition of Just the Truth. Thanks for joining me in the PhD Weight Loss Studios. To lose weight for the last time, visit myphdweightloss.com. If you haven't joined my mailing list yet, visit my website, joeyhudson.com. Click on the Connect with Joey button so that you can receive our emails and the most up-to-date news. Also, join me on my YouTube channel. Be sure and like, comment, and subscribe. Just search for Joey Hudson. As always, thanks for spending a few minutes of your day with me. Do me a favor and forward this episode to a few friends. Just click on the share button and send to your contacts. We need to build an army of conservatives to win our country back, and we can do that by continuing to share the truth with our friends and family. Keep those comments coming via the Furman Ford text line 864-477-JOEY. Email to joey@joeyhudson.com, and I love your messages on the MyPillow message line. Again, that's 864-477-JOEY, 864-477-5639. Be sure and take advantage of the MyPillow special, just $14.88 on the standard MyPillows when you use promo code Joey. Order online at mypillow.com or call 800-893-4053. We're back again tomorrow and hope you'll plan to join us. Until then, remember, God's got this. He's still in control.